The Kings are back. And I know I said that after the last game against the Thunder, but I take it back. The Kings weren't back after the last game with the Thunder. Now, that wasn't to say they didn't play super well or even as well as they played in this game against the Cavs, but this game against the Cavs was an offensive masterclass, just like we saw last season. So that's why they are now back, right? That game against the Thunder, we won it with really good defense. We weren't hitting our shots, but we were able to find a different way to win. And that's not something we saw a lot last season. And so that's great as well. But it's also really nice to see that the offense, now that De'Aaron Fox comes back into the lineup, it is hitting on all cylinders again. And I believe the Kings are averaging 127 points per game when Fox is playing. So no need to worry about the Kings offense. It's all good. We're all good here. Fox looked like he didn't miss a beat. 28 points on efficient shooting, other than maybe his free throw shooting. Domas also couldn't hit free throws. That was about the only thing that was going wrong for our offense in this game. It didn't look like the ankle was bothering him all that much. I did have a bit of a worry when Monk went down. It looked like his ankle maybe twisted, and then but he was fine. And then Len goes down and he's out for the game with an ankle. So last season it was all about fingers, breaking fingers. This season it's going to be all about twisting ankles, spraining ankles apparently. Let's not have that continue to be a trend. Hopefully Alex Len is okay, and I will definitely get to what we saw out of JaVale McGee versus Alex Len a little bit later. But first, we got to talk about Keegan Murray. Yes, the offense is back, and he finally has found his stroke, and it was good that him and Herder and even Sasha and Monk and like everyone found their shot at the exact same time, which was fun to see. And I kept saying, this next game's going to be the one for Keegan. This next game's going to be the one. And like last game, half of it kind of was. And then this game, it was the full game of him being there offensively. And obviously, Fox opens things up for him, but it still is more him creating for himself than we have seen in the past. And there was one nice shot where he came off a screen, had Donovan Mitchell on him, and he just rose up right away and knocked down a long midi, which is exactly what I've been asking for him to do when he has a smaller defender on him. Just rise up and hit that shot because he has the capability to do that. He had a really nice fadeaway at the end of the third quarter, I think that was, off the missed free throw. So a lot of great things from him offensively, but that's not really what I want to talk about. Because it is the other end of the floor that is so surprising. Because I absolutely expected a leap from Keegan offensively from his first season to his second season. But it's the defense that I had no idea was going to be so good. Last season, he was a horrible defender. Like, he was absolutely horrible. Constantly getting blown by, fouling, just not good in any way. And I just kind of was hoping that he would eventually develop into a solid defender. And I never thought he would develop into, any type of great or elite defender. And then all of a sudden, in year two, he's just this amazing defender. Like right away. It hasn't taken him any time into his second season. It's incredible that you rarely see this so quickly and such drastic development in such a short period of time. He locked Donovan Mitchell up in this game. Mitchell went 7 for 21 from the field, a lot of that being guarded by Keegan Murray. I was wondering before the game what the Kings were going to do, because if Fox plays, then it's like, well, you don't really want Fox, who's just coming back from an ankle injury to be guarding Donovan Mitchell. And then you also have Darius Garland. So it's like, who do you put on Mitchell? And if he didn't play, then it's like, okay, put Keon on Donovan Mitchell, but then who guards Garland? Apparently, we don't need to worry about that at all. And just Keegan's leap defensively makes this team so much better when you have three guys out there that can guard well, just well. You don't want to have three guys out there that are poor defenders. Shout out Kevin Herter as well, who's been playing really well defensively as of late. But the Kings before were just so limited in what their ceiling was defensively because there was just no switchability, and teams like the Cavs pose problems when you have two guards that are offensive threats and you only have one De'Aaron Fox. And thankfully, De'Aaron Fox has turned into a really good defender, so you can at least take one of them out of the game, at least in theory, right? But then it's like, what about the other one? And now you can put Keegan on him, and that helps a lot. You can't play well in the NBA with three poor wing defenders in your starting lineup. And so it's really nice that Keegan has made this leap. The Cavs still did pose matchup problems, but they do to most teams, having two 7-footers. But when the Kings are hitting threes and the Cavs can just dunk every time. It doesn't matter if we're just hitting threes on every possession. And they were dunking a lot. It was Mobley most of the time coming from the dunker spot. There was a point where the Kings went into a zone defense, and immediately when I saw it, I was just like, what are we doing? And Jared Allen immediately gets a layup, and then the next two possessions, it's, I think, Mobley trying to lob it to Allen, I think, and he was pretty open, and he just threw it over his head. Then the next possession, it's Allen lobbing to Mobley wide open, again, throws it over his head. So they bailed us out, but the zone looked horrible because they're just getting dunks every time pretty much. And that's the matchup problem that the Cavs pose when we don't have a lot of length. When we have Sabonis out there who can take one of them, but he's not going to be able to come over and block shots very well in help defense. And so then you need Barnes to be able to guard Evan Mobley well and be able to break up passes because he's not going to block the shot. And that's obviously a problem, but the Kings did a good enough job in this game of being active defensively. Again, a big shout out to Kevin Herter in that he has been so much better recently defensively, having active hands, staying in front of guys like Donovan Mitchell. He picked up a few early fouls, but was able to work past that. And that's kind of why he had a rough first quarter. And I think a rough first half in general was that foul trouble, but he was able to get out of that. Chris Duarte also had a lot of problems fouling, Donovan Mitchell mostly. Chris Duarte has looked really poor in these recent games. It was like him and JaVale McGee out there just kind of causing chaos, not in a good way, at the start of the fourth quarter. And just all of Duarte's minutes were chaos for him, fouling, making not great decisions offensively. Like when we got that offensive rebound and he just then chucked up a long three. Like, you're not Kevin Herter. Chill out. So that hasn't been great when I thought early in the season we had found something in terms of a solid defender. But he just hasn't been able to hit shots and is not making good decisions offensively. And then he's fouling defensively. Like, I love his energy defensively. And it seems like he has the potential to be a really good defender, but he just needs to figure out how to stop fouling. And then on offense, he just needs to learn how to reel it in a bit. But right now, he's absolutely losing his spot in the rotation. And speaking of losing your spot in the rotation, we can talk about Davion Mitchell losing his spot in the rotation. He didn't even come in garbage time. We threw out Jordan Ford, Colby Jones. Keon was still out there. But Keon came in as the backup two guard, point guard, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. One of the guards with Monk. He played 12 minutes, 2 points, two assists, two turnovers, one block. I thought he was active defensively. I mean, you could really see that he is a talented defender. He also made a couple of really nice passes, but then you can also see that he's not really a point guard, but that's why you've got Monk out there handling the ball. And then there was just that one open corner three that you would like to see him hit, where he was just wide open. Like those are the shots that he needs to hit if he wants to be a really good rotational player. And I mean, that's the life of a rotation player, right? Is you get one, maybe two shots, and your game is kind of judged off whether you make them or not. And he hasn't really been hitting his three balls this season in the minutes he's gotten, but he has been a very good defender. Like I mentioned earlier, Alex Len went down with an ankle injury, and so we saw JaVale McGee come in, and I think this game was a perfect example of why JaVale McGee got pulled out of the rotation for Alex Len. It was just chaos. McGee was just not playing smart defense. He gambled for a steal that didn't work out. He went for a block that he was never gonna get. Like he forced, I think it was Levert into the help defense. Sasha was there, straight up, contest the shot. Like that's great defense. And then McGee just comes and tries to block it for no reason. He had no chance. You played good defense. Now go get the rebound. And instead, he tries to block it. Jared Allen gets the rebound, which would have come right to JaVale McGee if he didn't try to block it. And he puts it back up and in. And it's those type of plays that I think Alex Len isn't making. And Alex Len is just making the smart play instead of the flashier play. Now, that isn't to say JaVale didn't have his moments. I thought he was pretty good rebounding the ball other than that one moment. And so his size is important. And if he's going to be the third string backup big, then like that's great, to be honest. Like that's why we went and we got him and why we kept Alex Len, to have two of those guys off the bench. So if one of them goes down, the other one can play. And so he could be better, but he's definitely good enough to play. And hopefully he can just reel himself in a little bit and play a little smarter. But right when Alex Len went down, I was just thinking, that sucks, but we have JaVale McGee. This is why we have him. And so it is really nice to have a guy like JaVale McGee to fill in there. The Kings had the lead for most of the game, maybe all of it. I don't know. Most of it though. But it was really the moment in the third quarter, like the middle to end of the third quarter, especially the end, where the Kings were kind of hovering around a double digit lead, like 10, 11, maybe a little more. And then they just went in on a massive run. And it started with Keegan Murray on the defensive end getting two deflections. And then he locked up Donovan Mitchell, forced him into a tough shot. That led to a Kevin Huerter transition three. Then it was just the Kings playing team defense, which was great to watch. And I think the Kings have been much better defending around the rim this season than they were last season. Sabonis has done a super good job of staying out of foul trouble and just contesting around the rim. And then Keegan was knocking down shots. Monk was knocking down shots as well as making some outlandish passes. Sasha had come in and hit three threes, ended with 11 points. He played super well, and he actually played some minutes over Barnes in the second half, as well as some other guys. Barnes didn't really play much in the second half, and that's two straight games of him not playing a lot of minutes. And in this one, it was 22 minutes. And just when he came out in the first time in the third quarter, I don't think he ever went back into the game. And it was just other guys contributing, like Sasha. And Sasha's release, like when that ball goes in, it just looks so nice. It's such a quirky release, but when he hits those threes, it's nothing but net. It just looks beautiful. Another big thing for the Kings in this game, I thought the two keys were going to be preventing the Cavs from getting offensive rebounds, which the Cavs had 14. Kings had 8. You know, wasn't the best. Could have been worse, I guess. But the other thing was transition defense and not turning the ball over. They only had 10 turnovers in this game. I'm pretty sure they had none in the second quarter. They had like 5 in the first quarter, none in the second quarter. And then the only other really bad spell of the game was at the start of that fourth quarter. I mentioned it was JaVale McGee, Chris Duarte kind of being chaotic out there, Malik Monk, De'Aaron Fox, and I can't remember who else was out there. Maybe it was Sasha, I think it was. And that lineup is like we were trying to kind of kill the game off, had that 21-point lead, and it was just turnovers, not playing sound defense, taking bad shots. Like I got slightly worried there, and then the Kings continued to be sloppy even when most of the starters plus Keon Ellis came in, Keon instead of Fox, and Mobley was getting on the offensive glass. So it was kind of like all the things that the Cavs are really good at and that the Kings needed to limit. They were it was kind of getting away from them in the fourth quarter, and then Sabonis took it upon himself, went inside for that big and one against Mobley, and that was kind of where the game ended there. I think the Kings kind of slammed the door shut there. It wasn't totally over though. It was like a 13-point game with 3 minutes left, and the Cavs waved the white flag and put their reserves in, and that was really weird to me because it didn't feel like it was totally over. And 13 points in 3 minutes when you have a guy like Donovan Mitchell on your team, like why are you taking out your starters that early? It was very weird. And I saw a similar thing with the Warriors against the Cavs just a couple days ago when the Cavs had a lead, not by that much, like 11 points maybe, and the Warriors waved the white flag super early. When you have like Clay and Steph on your team, why are you waving the white flag that early? I don't get it. The Kings did not care. Like Mike Brown was like, this game is not over. We are not pulling our starters as he shouldn't have. Like there was no reason to pull the starters there. It was very odd. I feel like I always kind of brush over Sabonis just because it's like, yeah, Sabonis did what he always does. 23 points, 10 assists, 9 rebounds, almost got the triple double. It's like, yeah, he was great, and it's like I don't really say much else. It's like, what can I say though? He was great. When Herder is hitting his threes, that's when Sabonis is at his best because Sabonis and Herder, we all know, work so well off each other. Herder obviously knocking down all of his threes and some really tough ones was amazing, but he was also doing some nice playmaking, and Sabonis was just going straight into the 2 7-footers of the Cavs, and they could not contain him. Especially Mobley is just not strong enough for Sabonis, just like Chet wasn't, and Jared Allen's the same. And so Sabonis was just going right in, drawing fouls. 6 for 11 from the free throw line isn't the best. The Kings shot 63% overall, but when you also shoot 47% from three, it's all good. They almost shot better from the field than from the free throw line. It was only 4% different there. And another thing about this whole homestand is that the Kings are now 4-1 at home. They won all 3 games on the homestand. And last season, the Kings struggled at home. They were not great at home. They were really good on the road, but this season, they're 1-3 on the road, 4-1 at home. And honestly, I'd rather have it that way. It's way more fun to win at home. When I'm not in the arena, it's way more fun to watch on TV with just the crowd pops and the Keegan Murray chants. That's so much more fun than winning on the road. The players will tell you it's more fun to win on the road. It's more fun to hear the crowd go silent when you hit a big shot, but for the fans, it's so much more fun when you're winning at home. But the Kings now go on a 6-game road trip. So you better start winning on the road as well. But of course, all 3 of the road losses were without Fox, and the 1 game they won on the road was with Fox. So that should help. This road trip is the Lakers, then the Spurs, Mavericks, Pelicans twice, and the Timberwolves. So a tough Western Conference road trip. No Western Conference road trip is going to be easy. I guess it could be harder, but Dallas has been playing really well. Minnesota's been playing really well. Lakers not as much. New Orleans not as much, but those are still two good teams. And then the Spurs have some good players and have played good teams well this season. So definitely no pushovers on this road trip. Also, I believe the game against the Spurs and the game against the Timberwolves are both in-season tournament games, and then we come home and play the Warriors in our last in-season tournament game. So, Spurs, Timberwolves, those have a little bit of extra meaning. The last time we played the Lakers was that overtime game where Fox got injured and then Monk went off in overtime. So Fox, he's got to get his revenge for Gabe Vincent injuring him. I want to see him go off again. He always goes off against the Lakers. I think having Fox out, I mean, you never want Fox to go out, but them being able to win those last two games with him out, especially the OKC one, it gave me a lot more confidence in this team, and I think it probably gave the team as a whole confidence, showing themselves that they could win without Fox. And I think that can only help this team. And Houston just keeps on winning. So those back-to-back losses, keep looking not as bad as they used to. I still just can't get over how amazing Keegan's defense was on Donovan Mitchell. Because, we saw it earlier in the season on Steph, him play really good defense. But I was like, is it just one game? Doesn't seem like it was just one game. Like, it seems like he is really becoming a really good defender. And that is just so encouraging to see. Anyways, that is it for this episode of the Royal Report. I will be back on Wednesday after that game against the Lakers to recap that game. Peace.